5 scariest ways humans will become extinct. While everybody knows they won't live forever, people rarely think about how exactly they'll die. We do everything we can to distract ourselves from our inevitable demise, despite the fact that there are very real threats facing us every day that could possibly result in mass human extinctions. These are the 5 scariest ways humans will become extinct. Number 5. Pandemic, natural or man-made disease. A pandemic is the widespread dispersion of an infectious disease throughout a large region. In the modern world, we now know what causes most diseases, and we've even deployed preventative measures and vaccinations for some of the deadliest. While this is true, there are some serious repercussions that we haven't considered, and there are diseases that have killed hundreds of thousands that still continue to infect and ravage our world today. Many of those that killed off massive amounts of people happened hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, when there was little understanding as to how they spread. So is a threat of worldwide pandemic still possible in the modern world we live in? Yes, it is. In fact, our modern world can actually hasten the spread of such diseases when they do happen. Modern air travel alone can easily spread one disease from one continent to another within just a matter of hours. Take the H1N1 virus, for instance, also known as the swine flu because the first outbreak was largely traced back to people contracting it from pigs. It only takes one person infected with H1N1 to take a plane ride out of the country without realizing they're a carrier, land in a new place, and proceed to infect another person. They won't even need to get off the plane as H1N1 spreads like any regular flu. When a person coughs or sneezes inside a plane, that's already setting the virus loose in a compact area, potentially infecting countless people at once when they come in contact with those drops. It's the same when they land. When infected people cough and sneeze and those droplets land on a doorknob or the sink and another person comes in contact with it, they then could become infected as well. And with many overpopulated cities around the world, once it strikes, it can move around fast. Carriers of the disease can even spread the virus a day before they start to develop any symptoms, so identifying it can take time. Adults can also spread it up to 7 days after they get sick, and kids can spread it up to 10 days later. Once started, within just a month's time, a countless number of people could contract the disease and the result would be thousands of deaths. This isn't just hypothetical because it's actually happened before. In 1918, a form of H1N1 or swine flu ravaged the world. Dubbed as the Spanish flu, it was first identified in March of 1918 in U.S. troops training in Kansas. By October of the same year, it had easily spread all over the world, causing an infection in nearly 1/3 of the world's population, which at that time was 500 million. In just 6 months of the virus spreading, it had caused an estimated 50 million deaths, but many say in total the number could be double. Variations of the virus also showed up in 1957 to 1958, and then 1968 to 1969, while the most recent was in 2009 and dubbed as Influenza A, which is still circulating today. Even more alarming is that the H1N1 virus, including others equally deadly to humans such as SARS, are being studied in 30 laboratories worldwide in biocontainment units, but there are no approved or stockpiled vaccines for any of them. The possibility of escape is very possible, and when a virus like this does spread, it's near impossible to stop. Number 4. Nuclear war, resulting in a nuclear winter. A nuclear holocaust is one of the most imagined bleak futures that our world could suffer. The idea of a nuclear war breaking out is nothing new and has been around ever since the power of the atom bomb was displayed in World War II. Today, we're no better. In fact, we're under a more precarious situation as major countries in the world stockpile on nuclear weapons. Now, it seems that it's only a matter of time before we move on to a total nuclear annihilation. But is it really possible for such a war to erupt in our world today? And what would happen if one actually did? Today, there are over 16,000 pieces of nuclear weapons spread out over 9 countries, particularly in Russia, France, the UK, United States, North Korea, China, Pakistan, India, and Israel. Researchers at Rutgers University hypothesized that if, for instance, India and Pakistan would push through their nuclear war, within 1 week, 21 million people would die as a result of burns, blast effects, and radiation. If 100 nuclear warheads were detonated, this would send 5 megatons of black carbon up into the Earth's atmosphere. The carbon would end up absorbing and blocking the heat of the sun before it reaches the Earth, thus drastically plunging Earth's temperatures. This huge dip in the temperature is what has been dubbed as nuclear winter. Moreover, the amount of rainfall and sunshine the Earth would receive would lessen, leading to shorter crop seasons and creating a nuclear famine. Billions could starve without any access to proper food. It wouldn't be a problem limited to just one region either, but instead become a global issue. That's also not counting the threats of disease. For instance, chemical reactions from the radiation could lead to more skin cancer and sunburns, but that would be the least of our problems. While this scenario focuses on the possibility of an Indio-Pakistan war, all bets are off once the big nuclear countries like the US, Russia, China, and even North Korea come into play. The recent inflammatory rhetoric by the US against North Korea is just a stepping stone. If, in the end, a nuclear war breaks out for one reason or another, no one in the world would win. While the effects of a nuclear winter would vary depending on how severe the war is, it would still take hundreds, if not thousands of years before the Earth even recovers, if at all. Number 3. Overpopulation and the 6th mass extinction. The 6th mass extinction involves the mass death of wildlife. Scientists have noted that our planet's wildlife are dying at a faster rate as a result of human overpopulation and overconsumption. Compared to the 5 mass extinctions of the past that involved cataclysmic events like supervolcanoes and asteroidal impacts that killed off the dinosaurs, we are killing off our mammals, birds, and amphibians at an alarming rate all on our own. The problem is that as humans, our population has increased 130% in just the past 50 years. This means that just 40 years from now, there will be 10 billion people living on Earth. Our increasing demand for resources, space, and food are putting pressure on the rest of the world, particularly on our environment. About 25% of mammals all over the globe and 13% of the birds are now deemed extinct. This is due to habitat loss, hunting, pollution, invasive species, poaching, and other human-induced situations. But scientists agree that mass extinction is fully preventable. While we don't have an option to bring back species that are gone, we can prevent the decline of animals and other forms of natural habitat that they thrive in. However, if we continue along this trajectory currently, it's ultimately going to mean extinction for us too. It's no secret that as humans expand, it means we also require more land to feed people. But we don't use these lands wisely, and still more than 800 million people go to sleep hungry every single night. As our cities expand and our industries multiply, we send more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, affecting temperatures on our planet for the worse. Even more, the result of synthetic chemicals we use for creating a variety of things contributes greatly to poisoning our planet. From makeup to preservatives and more, our daily items are infused with these chemicals. As the human population grows, we devour more of our resources, and at some point, there's a breaking point. The way many of us live is disruptive against the natural world, and if we don't find alternatives to this, then eventually it will catch up to us. If humans continue along this path, then simply put, it's only a matter of time before we too end up on the extinct list. Number 2. Asteroidal Impact. Many believe life on Earth started in space, brought upon by an asteroidal impact. Aside from being the possible source of life on this planet, asteroids are also thought to be the reason that life on this planet could end. 60 million years ago, a massive asteroid plunged into the Earth and eradicated the dinosaurs. Since then, the idea of human extinction through an asteroidal impact has become a poster child for a possible human demise. Like the impact of a nuclear bomb, an asteroid hitting the planet means creating a large transfer of kinetic energy at the point of impact. This is transformed into sound and heat, creating pressure waves that emanate from the center outward. Anything within the immediate vicinity of the impact would be obliterated with no distinction. Not only would the blast site be horrendous and kill just about everything around, this would also kick up an enormous amount of dust into the atmosphere. Like a large nuclear explosion or a supervolcano erupting, it would instigate a nuclear winter of sorts. That amount of dust would cover sunlight, which would prevent plants from growing, creating a drastic effect on the ecosystem. Plants and animals will be killed, and the majority of humans would die as well, save for the few who can find their way underground where there is an alternative source of heat. Those living in a prepared biodome that somehow could withstand such a devastating impact on the Earth's climate might have a chance at surviving. There are scientists who choose to stay on the positive side and say that the likelihood of an asteroid impacting Earth most likely won't happen in our lifetime, adding that one which is large enough to wipe out the planet only comes along once in a million years. While many asteroids as big as a car do enter Earth's atmosphere on occasion, these often burn up before they end up causing any damage. Today, efforts are being done by NASA and others to track any asteroid of significant size coming close to the Earth. However, even if we do see one coming our way, there's still no concrete solution on how we could divert it. For now, all we're really doing is taking our chances and hoping that an asteroid moving at the speed of 20 miles every single second doesn't come our way. Number 1. Artificial intelligence, the rise of the machines. Elon Musk is known to be the man of the future. He's created Solar City to provide a green alternative power source for humans, Tesla to provide an alternative for the internal combustion engine, and of course SpaceX to back up his desire to see a human colony on Mars during his lifetime. But despite all these endeavors, there is one thing he doesn't subscribe to, and that's the idea of creating artificial intelligence, because he sees it as the largest threat facing our world today, and he's not the only one. The threat of the rise of machines that could result from our longing to create the perfect and most helpful machine could ultimately mean our demise as humans. Large global firms like Amazon, Google, and even Facebook are starting an AI arms race, so to speak, continually developing better and faster learning machines to replace tasks once done by people. These tasks are broken down to codes to make it easier for machines to do automatically. Couple this with the amount of data we provide on our own gadgets like tablets, smartphones, and across the internet, and you're brewing a possible Blade Runner meets the Terminator mashed with the Matrix in the making. But how exactly would machines take over, and would they be ever sentient enough to act on their own? The creation of intelligent machines and automating various tasks isn't the major source of dilemma for those afraid of the rise of AIs. Instead, it's the idea of having machines programmed to learn the way that humans do. Dubbed as deep learning, machines are taught or programmed to crunch large data sets, essentially teaching themselves new things. It's a way for computers to help themselves create rules programmers cannot easily specify or describe using a program. They can do this thanks to the invention of neural networks, first developed in the 1950s. As humans, our brains are run by neurons, highly linked systems that do the heavy lifting of analyzing and processing. This is mimicked in computers and machines, creating interlinked layers that allows the machine to dive deep into learning. Despite all this capability, much of the algorithms and deep learning instructions are still created by humans for machines. So now, there's a race towards creating machines that can do unsupervised learning, meaning they can learn without our interjection. Right now, companies like Google are looking towards this technology because it means having better image classifiers, which would help users find images they need better. But it won't be limited to just images. It can be used for a variety of things. Eventually, once machines end up teaching themselves, how soon before they make decisions based on their programming that might contradict what humans would prefer or decide on? Ultimately, this is where the dilemma takes us. They could simply decide that humans themselves are a problem that needs to be dealt with and then devise a way to wipe us out. With our current interconnected society, machines are already running the majority of our current life. If in the end we come to a point where a machine runs 99% of our society, then what's to say it won't lead to our demise and decline as a human civilization? This still seems fairly far-fetched, or simply a good movie plot, but with the trajectory we're taking, it is not out of the realm of possibility. So there were the 5 scariest ways humans will become extinct. Humans don't live forever, we all know that. But there are certain events that could plunge us into the inevitable danger of extinction if we don't take a step back and try to prevent them from happening in the first place. If you like this video, then remember to subscribe to our channel because we have new scary videos every Wednesday and Saturday for you to enjoy. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you soon.